brought in the groundhog. Punxsutawney Phil, otherwise known as Phil Duncan from weatherwatch.co.nz. I'm sure you've been called worse, Phil. Welcome to the show, by the way.
Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, and look, I don't care about whether or not you see your shadow, but as the person that we go to for information about what the weather's going to be doing, people need to know, are we on the eve of autumn? Summer over and done with tomorrow. Certainly looked like it at my place today as the sun didn't come up. There was just rain and cloud. I'm thinking, that's it, summer's over. But hey, do we get 3 more weeks of summer? What's your verdict?
Well, if I went outside right now, yeah, I wouldn't get much of a shadow. Very overcast today, so no shadow being cast. Okay, I think we're going into, as we often call an Indian summer, where we just get this extended summer that goes through March. We're certainly seeing that, especially for the North Island. The South Island, it's sometimes hard to stop the Southern Ocean weather from brushing the South Island. South Islanders will notice more than anything how quick the days are getting shorter now. We're losing about 20 minutes a week of sunlight as we go into March. So between where we are now on the 27th of February and where we'll be on the 27th of March, a month away, we'll be losing about 1 hour of sunlight. And so that's the days are shrinking, the nights are expanding. So that means the mornings are a little cooler. And if you're inland or coastal, I mean, that's the whole country, inland and coastal. But certain parts of the country are going to find morning cloud and morning fog. As we're at that time of the year where the longer nights and the warm afternoons, perfect recipe for making things like that.
I mean, compared to the rest of the world, we're all pretty coastal, honestly. Nobody's further than 2 hours from a coastline, which is, I suppose, what keeps us so warm in these warmer summer waters, I suppose.
Very much so. Certainly the coastal areas, the right on the coast, the temperatures get regulated by the sea. And a perfect example of that is every one of our biggest cities, whether it's Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch, Dunedin. You can throw Napier in there. You can throw a few others. That anywhere there is a big centre that's next to the coast and is hilly, you'll often have a several degree temperature spread. We had it yesterday in Auckland where it was 27 degrees if you were inland. It was only 23 degrees if you were right on the coast with the breeze off the sea.
Wow.
And so very hard to give a single temperature for all of our biggest cities, simply because if you live on the Port Hills rather than on the coastline in Christchurch, or you know what I mean, no matter where you are, if you're higher up or in a valley, temperature variations are always big in New Zealand. Keeps the coastal areas keep the nights milder, but sometimes the days not quite as hot because of that breeze coming off the sea.
Now, generally, despite what weather was happening at my place last night and this morning, generally more dry on the way for us in the next few weeks then?
Well, for at least the next week, we've got a lot of high pressure still coming through. In fact, very powerful high pressure at the moment. And that just sort of shoulders and elbows away rainmakers every time they try to move in. We're watching, though, severe tropical cyclone Alfred, which is up in the Coral Sea. Alfred is certainly one to keep an eye on because the tracking at the moment brings it southwards. If there was no high pressure in the New Zealand area, then we would be saying this cyclone is coming to New Zealand because of the Coriolis effect. The spin of the earth pulls those storms to the southeast. So from the Queensland area, they come straight to New Zealand. But we've got a lot of high pressure in the way. So this cyclone's got a complicated path. We don't know if it's going to hit Queensland, New South Wales even, or remain out at sea. So we're keeping an eye on it because as we go to later next week, which is the first week of March, we might be seeing that storm or the leftovers of it brushing the country, but it's not locked in. It's very hard forecast to be accurate about in that one specific area. If you remove that cyclone, then it looks very dry. We've got a lot of high pressure, not much rain on the way.
And hey, yet to be determined whether or not Cyclone Alfred will be a late summer storm or an early autumn storm. You're still on the fence on that one, Phil, honestly.
Well, exactly. I mean, tomorrow, Friday, is the end of summer on the meteorological calendar, which goes from the first of the month to the end of the month, nice and easy. But if you go with the Earth's journey around the sun, which probably makes more sense, that is the astronomical date, you've still got 3 more weeks left to go of summer. So enjoy it while you've got it. Autumn is the most favourite season of the year in New Zealand, so there'll be no complaints from most people as we go from February to March. Usually most people are pretty happy as we go with the slightly cooler nights for sleeping, but still those really lovely hot afternoons to be lazy or go for a swim.
So the first weekend in March, whether or not it's autumn or summer, to be determined. First weekend in March, what's that looking like for most of us, Phil?
Mostly high pressure, but there is a little bit of a cold front trying to move up the country. And so as we go from the weekend and into the start of next week, that southerly from Saturday to Sunday tracks up New Zealand. It will bring some showers. Some people might get a thunderstorm as you get that kind of hot cold mix in the afternoons. And there might be some very welcome downpours for those that need it as the country gets drier and drier. So we do have some wet weather and a slightly cooler change coming through, but basically next week back to high pressure. And then as we go to the middle of next week or the end of next week, that's when we keep an eye on whether or not this tropical cyclone in the Coral Sea is coming anywhere near us, or if it just suddenly hits Queensland. And if it hits Queensland, it won't be reaching us.
Who cares,
So
right?
some people are surprised that we can't lock it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we should know for that one, keep an eye on it. We should know by next weekend whether or not that is coming our way. And, of course, great way to keep an eye on it is at weatherwatch.co.nz. Phil, thank you for what you do. Looking forward to the final 3 weeks of summer. I'm going to log that in. Thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.